goals for everyone is different, but what we know for sure is that the goal should never be fluency, or at least not as a direct goal. Fluency happens as a byproduct of stop having fear about your stuttering.
Welcome to Some Stutter Law, Newfoundland Labrador's first podcast about stuttering. My name is Greg O'Grady, and I'm a person who stutters and a co-host of Some Stutter Law, Newfoundland Labrador's first podcast about stuttering, along with my co-host.
And I'm Katelyn Mayo. I'm a speech-language pathology student, and I'm Greg's co-host on this podcast.
Some Stutter Law mission is dismantling and rebuilding stuttering. Let's start listening. Some Stutter Law mandate is in the spirit of Newfoundland Labrador humor, robust and frank interactive discussions. Some Stutter Law podcast aims to rebuild confidence and hope for today's and tomorrow's person who happens to stutter by dismantling stuttering myths, stigmas, and stereotypes and barriers.
The objectives of Some Stutter Law podcast are supporting, raising awareness, and increasing understanding and acceptance of stuttering, providing people who stutter, their families, professionals, students, and the general public with current information, research, and resources about stuttering, and promoting advocacy and support for people who stutter.
Today, Some Stutter Law welcomes Jordi Fernandez, and Jordi is originally from Spain and currently lives in London, England. Jordi studied mechanical engineering, but moved to the UK in 2007 to work as a subsea engineer. He worked there for 10 years designing subsea structures for deep water projects for the oil and gas, but in 2017, he had decided to build Benetah. Now, recently, Jordi wrote did a post for the International Stuttering Awareness Day, ISAD, and his post was very his post was very inspirational and informative. And just to give you a quick synopsis of Benetah. Benetah consists of a small team of people who stutter, engineers, therapists, and researchers who are building products that help transform the lives of people who stutter. Benetah acknowledges that everyone's speech journey is different and are on a mission to help people who stutter find what works best for them. And their theme is we help people who stutter find joy in speaking, manage pressure, reduce tension, come in and to communicate your way. So Jordi, this is quite the change in careers for you, and you're also a person who stutters. So would you share your experiences as a person who stutters and how you became to develop Benetah?
Sure. Yeah, Greg. So thank you for your opportunity for giving me the opportunity of being here. So yes, as you explained, my background is quite different from what a person who will build a software product will have. But I am a person who stutters. I struggle with stuttering all my life. And the reason why I am doing what I'm doing is because I learned about 10 years ago of a speech therapy program which transformed my life in a way that it shows me that the real problem that I was having was avoidance. So avoidance of situations and, of course, ashamed of stuttering. So that program, what helped me is to to face my fears in terms of showing to everyone that I am a person who stuttered, rather than trying to hide it. The more that I show that I was stuttering, the more free I was, but also to practice on the real world. Because I went to many speech and language therapies, and what I found out is that it was great during the sessions, but what happened after, when I had to go to interviews, or I had to, or we have to go to shopping, no? So that is what the idea came up. So I wanted to build a device that can track you during the day to encourage you proactive speaking. So we don't care whether so we don't check whether we started or not, because that is not the goal. The more that we avoid stuttering, the more that we stutter. So, but what we care is about being proactive and not avoiding. And at that point in time, I was actually speaking with 100 people on weekends and 20 people every day, just as a proactive way of speaking with others. And yes, if I would have had a system that it will help me to be more active in this way, like the way that I frame this is like a fitness tracker for speech. In a way, you check how many steps have you done in one day. So how many words or how many hours of active conversation you had during the day. In fact, I am using the app now, right? Basically, it's tracking me in real time. So yeah, this is how we started. But the mission that we have, because I struggle with stuttering, and I went to many speech therapists, and none of them told me a different thing. So I realized that I realized by myself that there is no a gold standard. No one knows exactly how to tackle stuttering, and everyone thinks that is different. And also, when you change countries, you go to different places, the approach are different too. So so even we were discussing before this meeting that that there is a lack of speech language therapies where you live and where we live. So think about places in the world when they are still in developed countries that there is nothing. Many people who contact us, they even didn't know what was stuttering. So our goal is to bring a tool that it will help everyone in the world. This answer the question, maybe?
Oh, definitely, Jody. Looking at your site, I was noticing that I liked how you said in on your site that um, our vision was inspired by our founder Jody's experience with studying therapy. During therapy, he adopted some useful habits that improved his quality of life, but he struggles to maintain his progress on his own. So just like the fitness tracker helps you stay fit, Jody wished to could have a speech tracker to remind him to practice and allow him to track all the great progress he is making. So Jody, with this speech tracker, do you want to share exactly how it works for this app?
Yeah, so the way that it works, I mean, we are in the early stage. So we are on the starting point. So we launched about 4 months ago. But the important thing here is we at the moment we focus on managing pressure, so taking your time and giving you basically to slower your speed, the one you talk. We know that this is not the only tool that we can use to manage or to be more in control of how we speak, but this is the starting point. So when you use the app, at the end of the day or during the day, it will tell you how many minutes have you been spoken during the day. And also it detects how many minutes, well, during the day and during the week. It detects only you speaking, so it doesn't detect other voices and people. But again, we are on the early stages. So we are actually working towards a personalized therapy that will combine many things that the speech and language therapists teach. It's not that we don't want to replace a speech language therapist, but there is a lack of a speech and language therapist. So the goal is to our app to act as a speech language therapist. It gives a haptic audio and visual feedback in a way to understand how are you speaking.
I'm wondering, Jody, has have you been testing it out with people that stutter, and if so, what has been their feedback?
Yes, we have thousands of users every month who use our app. We speak every day with them. We have many people who have improved their lives. What we found is that most of people who use our app is people who had a previous experience because they know the background of stuttering. Stuttering, as you may know, as you should know, it's a very complex. It's a very complex condition. Even us, we stutter, we don't understand why this happens. So the reason that there is not many tools out there that helps you in this way. There is a reason for that. It's because it's a very complex thing to do. So we have users over the world. We have our app is being downloaded by 140 countries at the moment, and it's only in English, meaning that you can see that the people is desperate because even in countries where they don't speak English, they are trying to find an app in English. So they are trying to use our app even though they don't talk English. So yes, we are quite fortunate of living in countries where there's access to speech therapy, but there is many places that no. And those places where there is no therapy at all, I think that our app is more valuable at the moment.
So, I'm wondering now that now there are other aids out there that has been developed, such as something similar to the and hearing aid device that gives the brain signals when you're having any blockages or problems with your stuttering. Well, what's the difference with your tracking app, Jody?
So that what you are speaking is that delay auditory feedback systems that they exist for a long time. Those induce an audio delay, improving the fluency of people. We understand that this is a solution that only lasts for some time until your brain gets used to. We spoke with some people that use it very successfully during events, like you got to do a public event speaking and then you do it during that time. In our experience, the problem of having these devices in your ear is that you hear yourself, but also you hear everything else around with some delay. That is a bit of a problem. But what is most importantly here is that everyone, as you read before, everyone have a different journey and everyone is different. That's what makes stuttering very, very difficult. So our goal is by giving people what they need, depending of their goals. For some people, it's just they want to say some words that they cannot say. For some people, they just want to improve the fact that they are not confident. So goals for everyone is different, but what we know for sure is that the goal should never be fluency, or at least not as a direct goal. Fluency happens as a byproduct of stop having fear about your stuttering. I mean, something that, so going to the point of this audio devices that you put in your ear, this is about fluency, helps you to be more fluent. So we don't focus in fluency, we focus in reduce the struggle, which by product will improve fluency.
You know, Do you have have a way to to assess people who stutters, like readiness for your product? Is there an assessment, or how how does
Mm,
one link with you? I mean, uh, connect with you, Jody, to talk about whether or not this your app would be appropriate for them in terms. Is there an assessment protocol? Can you elaborate?
yes, there is a handful of stuttering assessments for in the community. And we use one which is called WASP, and WASPP. Maybe you have known about this, but basically it's one of the assessments which give you a picture of the impact that stuttering has in your life. We don't focus again in stuttering. We help more. We focus on the quality of life and the unhelpful thoughts that you have because of stuttering. So again, we are on the early stage. If you download the app now, you will get an assessment, and then you will fill the assessment and we'll give you the results. And the plan is to grow from there. So we have a personalized speech therapy based on the results that you answer. But at this moment, of course, I mean, before we go to this point, we have to do a lot of work. So at the moment, the app helps you in an area that is reducing speed, and by reducing speed, you reduce the pressure, the resist time, the manage the pressure to talk. When you are in a queue, we all of know this, right? When we go shopping and you are going to buy and there is people waiting on your back and you are stuttering. So that thing is a mindset that you need to take your time, whatever it takes, and don't worry about what people think. That is easier to say than done, right?
As I mentioned before, Jody, that some days I have my good day. Well, people who stuttering is so fluid, and I've also been very fortunate to take therapy to help me manage my severe stutter. But sometimes, depending how I'm feeling, like as you were saying, if I'm at a store lining up to or a coffee, I think of the coffee, there's a lot of pressure. And but some days I have my good days, my bad days, and some days I have my train wreck experience, speaking
Mm,
experience. But the most important thing is to get back on the horse, as we say.
mm.
And so when somebody is using your app, is there supports available, like online supports, or what supports are available when somebody purchases your app?
So at the moment, the app is free because we only care about knowing what works for whom. So we are more interested about data, about what works and what doesn't, and this will last for a while until we have enough evidence and to 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 support the society regarding what. So basically, before we give value to the society on what works and what doesn't. So the the plan is, well, what we do now is we give a tool to people to help their stuttering, and we have thousands of people who use the app, so we don't have one-to-one support. But what I really believe, and this is part of the product now, is the community. So when people ask me, can an app work without a speech and language therapist, I say yes, but the answer is if there is enough community support around, that will help the people, because people is people, right? People who need to speak with people. In this program where I was, what I explained, where I did this program, the the amazing thing about this program was the community. We have an amazing community of people, and I talk with people every day. They had a list, and I was talking with them every day, 20 people a day. So that is what can work. That is what I believe that can help people who stutter. The ability to give people the tools to manage your stuttering. By manage your stuttering is by still stutter, by being in control of your stuttering, particularly speech modification techniques where you still stutter, but you are on the driving seat. And then by having the community that helps you to practice the fact that it's okay to stutter, there is no problem with this. And then you, with these people, then you expand your comfort zone. So it's a journey. The thing that you just mentioned, that you sometimes you are okay, you had a good time, then you go back to zero. So the interesting thing about us is I believe that our journey is not linear like everyone thinks that a journey is from A to B. It goes in loops, in circles. But it still is a circle, meaning that once you hit and you are confident about your comfort zone of doing something, of saying something that is very difficult for you to do or say, when you do it in your comfort zone, then you need to expand to the comfort zone. So if you don't keep expanding your comfort zones contract. So the first step is by having the community. So long answer to your question, which was what people can get support from. Our app at the moment have a community that you can talk to, you can download, and you can speak with others there by text. But we are actually planning to have a bigger plan, which is speaking basically with this community. Because it's about, everything is about, there is some, everything is useful. There is a lot of approaches to stuttering which are useful, like the CBT and thinking about the stuttering. But I believe that the most useful thing is to actively speak. So the background is okay, you know what it is about, but then it doesn't help much to sit in the sofa and think about stuttering. You need to act. So as I say, always how you get rid of fear of spiders. So you get rid of fear of spiders by taking a spider, by taking a small spider and then taking a bigger one. So similarly, by how do you stop having fear of stuttering? By stuttering in your control, in a comfort zone with some techniques that feel you to be in control, and then by expanding this to areas where you are not in comfort.
Jordi, I have lots more questions, but I think Katelyn may have a few for you as well. Katelyn?
Of course, I always have questions. So I think the first thing that I wanted to kind of touch on is kind of shifting away from the app just a little bit and hearing a bit more about your personal experiences growing up as a person who stutters, your experiences in therapy, kind of how that kind of shows through in the app, how kind of your experiences kind of help you build the app, and just kind of what brought you to that point, I guess, and to the point where you could accept your stutter.
So yes, I started by what I explained before, which was the maintenance. In a way, we call it maintenance. So I knew what was the drill, I knew how to do, but I forgot of how to do it every day. So that's why we built this Fitbit for a speech, which is the current moment. But what we find out is that most of our users, they don't actually, they are people who they need the therapy. So they are not on this stage yet. So we're actually working towards that. And yes, the goal is to bring, we have a number, we have an advisor, we have a number of an experts on stuttering who help us how to build the product. And what is interesting is that, as you know, there is no gold standard. So there is a lot of things. So even think about this. even if we forget about the technology for a moment and you have to build your own therapy program, it's not clear. I mean, what components are you taking in? What are you taking into account? What is the message that you say? So is when you, even if you remove the technological, the technological part, is a very difficult problem to do. So we have a double problem. One is we are building a program, and on top of that, we are building a program that seems to be, it should work in a way that is clear to everyone without speech and language therapist. But having said that, we have a number of speech and language therapists who use our app in the patients with their clients, and we have a great feedback hearing about them. So it's a complementary tool for speech language therapies, but we want to make sure that places where there is no access to therapy, which is most of the world, they actually have access to. So I don't know if I answered the question, but I try to bring into the app most of the things that I learned, but also we have a group of experts in speech therapy, in stuttering, who they are helping us. But something that I found, which is quite interesting, sorry, too much talking. So something that I found very interesting, that even the experts have different point of views. So yeah, it's a different problem to solve. So that's why our goal is to find, our long-term goal is, okay, well, there is everything that humans have invented, right? So let's see what works. And that is the end goal. That's why we are not charging. We just want to have as much users as possible to understand what works and what doesn't.
So, Jordi, is one of the challenges that we're finding within our province is when we start to well, our main focus is to build awareness about stuttering and to obtain supports. However, one of the largest challenge we find is that we don't know the numbers of people who stutter within our province, and this is one of the reasons why we've started the Some Stutter Law podcast, the Newfoundland Labrador Stuttering Association, the NLSA Collaborative. And as I mentioned earlier, this is one of the reasons why the collaborative have developed these 4 surveys, which are being currently distributed throughout the province. One for teachers, people who stutter, parents and caregivers of people who stutters, and for speech language pathologists. So we're in the process of gathering data to find out. Yes, we know there are gaps in services, in supports and services, and there's also access to barriers to current supports and services. But we need to know the numbers of people who stutter in our province, and you're right, because the more that we build awareness about stuttering, the more that hopefully we will be able to reach out to those people who stutter within our province, especially within the rural area. And so the more that we let people who stutter know, and parents, that these are possible tools that may work, because one tool, one shoe doesn't fit all, like one therapy doesn't fit all. So bring having you part of this, having you part of this conversation helps a great deal. That this may be another tool that may work for a person who stutters. And so it's all part of building awareness. Would you agree?
Yeah. So you meant that what I didn't understand is what is the link between bringing awareness and knowing how many people stutter, because you want to tell to your area how many people are impacted about stuttering, right?
Oh, definitely, Jordi, because we actually need to know how, approximately how many people who stutter in Newfoundland, because I mean, research has it that 1% of the population stutters, and so we actually, and these are all numbers are 1% of the population stutters. That translates to about 17 million people. But because you say there's not as much awareness about studying in Newfoundland, so we need to identify numbers and the number of people that need these services, because there is deficits in services for people who stutter, and stuttering is a little known within our province, and a little attention is paid to it. So we need to know exactly the numbers.
Yeah, I think that I found two problems here. One is the 1% of the population. This has been for a long time. No, there is a study. There's a couple of studies performed that shows this number, but at least there is some work to be done on the British Stammering Association that where it shows that 3% of the population, or at least 3% of the British population stutters, which I think that this could be a more accurate number for two reasons. One is there is many cases of people who stutter who they don't show that they stutter. So one of the clear cases is Joe Biden, no, the current president of US. So no one knows he's a person who stutters, but he is working very hard in his speech, and you cannot see it. So there is many people like him. So this is one thing, and the second thing is, when I was younger, and I found that there is other people like me, is that I didn't want to know anything about the stuttering. So to me, it was three types of people: fluent people, people who stutter, and me. So I was in a denial completely. I didn't want to be linked with people who stutter because I was very ashamed of that, and I wanted to believe to myself that I was different. And so, in fact, when I was listening that someone started, or I was having the chance to meet someone, I changed my street. So I didn't want to speak with no one who started, which made me to the point that many people who does these surveys, or they part of these surveys, they actually don't want to be part of the community of people who stutter, because they don't want to relate to that, because they are so ashamed. And I think that this was my case, and I met other people like me. So I am not sure how many people were like me, or are like me. So I think that this is two reasons why the 1%, why the numbers that publicly, why the numbers that have been shown until now, which is the 1%, is actually quite low. But I will send you this maybe after this meeting, but I will. So there is some research to be done on the British Stammering Association indicating 3%.
You see, this is one question, Jordi. I often wonder where do these numbers come from? Because you're right. Because thinking about my history, I spent a number of years being a covert stutterer, which means that I try to masquerade myself as a fluent speaker. And you're right. There's a number of people who stutter who do not want to come out, let's say, as a person who stutters. And so, I mean, the more that we build awareness through the Some Stutter law within our province, within the Newfoundland Labrador Stuttering Association, the NLSA collaborative, I feel we may be able to give those silent voice people, the people who stutter who are isolated, more confidence to come out, because we're actually, we want to support them.
Yeah, it's a hard work, right? Because we humans want to copy people, so, and we don't know other people who stutter, and because we don't know the people who stutter, we feel we are very weird. So there has to be something wrong with us. So yeah, I think that the way to give awareness is by trying to make people feel that they are not alone. This is one thing, and and the other thing is by feeling that they actually have the support, right, of the community of other people. And well, so this actually in my case, what it really helped me is to realize that my story was not different from other people, no. So and this is actually something that the British Stammering Association is doing quite well. They have articles of many people talking, and I found it is quite useful because when you read a couple of them, you say, well, I mean, I am not the only one, but I don't know you, Greg, but I grew up thinking that I was the only person who started, right, around my friends and family. Also, something very important is the family. It's interesting, but maybe now, the world have changed, but when I was younger, I mean, no one in my family knew what was going on with stuttering. So I think that the education to the parents, I think, is the most important thing.
Katelyn, do you have any more questions for Jordi?
Yeah, for sure. Just a few really quick ones before we, close out the meeting. But I was wondering if there's anybody out there who is a person who stutters, who either has been to therapy, hasn't been to therapy, and comes across your app and is kind of hesitant to start using it or to look into it. Maybe because they're feeling shame because of their stutter or they're nervous, whatever it may be. What advice would you give to somebody who is interested in looking into your app?
So the app, we build the app with the best intentions in the world. We are a team of people who stutter, and we believe that it will help everyone who is a person who stutter. And if they think that it doesn't help them, I will ask them to please send me an email to get feedback, because at this current moment, our most important goal is to learn. So yeah, I think that our app can help everyone. Now it's in early stage, but it will grow. And we want to know everyone feedback, opinions. My email is jordi@benetalk.com. Jordi by Jade for Juliet, ORD for Denmark, I for Indigo, at benetalk.com. And yeah, any ideas, thoughts, feedback, we'll be happy to talk and learn.
And Jordi, one last question. Your app talks about pillars. You have about 4 pillars. You want to just share on what types of pillars and supports they are?
Yes, so that is something that we believe within the company. How can we support people who stutter? So first of all, you download the app, and you download the app mostly because you have fear of stuttering. Okay, you are suffering because of stuttering, but the truth is you have fear to stutter. So the first thing that you need to do is, or the first thing that we do is we teach you the knowledge about the stuttering. So what is the stuttering? Well, at least what the world knows for now, because there is a lot of things that we still don't know. But most importantly, what is your stuttering? I mean, how is your stuttering? How do you feel about your stuttering? And because all the stuttering are different, so you need to understand well how do you stutter. And we do this by the assessment that I was talking about, but also we will do this by having more awareness about the muscles that are involved during the speaking. And then we will teach you how to stutter in a controlled way. By meaning a controlled way is that we always stuttering has been always in controlling us. But have you tried to stutter in purpose? It's not possible. So there is some techniques that help you to change the way that you stutter to at least, in my opinion, to help you to know how long a block will last, right? So the worst thing that we have is that when we started, we don't know if we are going to be stuck for 10 seconds or 5, you know. So that technique that helps you to stutter in a controlled manner then allows you to stutter more in the driving seat. What I meant is that the way to stop suffering because of our stuttering is to desensitize from stuttering. Means that you stop chasing to be fluent and show that you stutter, and that makes you feel like stuttering is not a bad thing. It's something that happens, and by doing this, you start to feel calmer and confident that you can achieve your goals, even though you're a person who stutters. And then we support you through the fact that we help you to manage pressure, right? So then the main 3 pillars is stuttering with this, with what we call it the minimum viable fluency. By minimum viable fluency, I mean that it's okay to stutter, but there is a number. So for some people, when you're stuttering is very severe, you cannot say to people that it's okay to stutter, right? So we need to manage this to a level that you have a minimum fluency to keep a conversation. This is one pillar. The other pillar is to desensitize about the stuttering. Other pillar is to manage pressure by having a lower speech rate that you typically have to take your time when you talk. And then this combines with the community to go from your comfort zone to the real world. That is the last bit. By doing all of this, we believe that it's possible to find joy in speaking, which is our end vision.
So you mentioned earlier, Jordi, that your app is on trial for use for people who stutter. Is there a time limit to this trial, or is it, you know?
No, there is no time limit at the moment. We are closing so we are looking for investment now, and the investment is for growth, for user growth, particularly to learn from what works and what doesn't. So we will not charge until we know what works and what doesn't, and we expect this not to happen until 1 year from now.
Well, Jordi, thank you very much for your time today, and we wish you much success with your tracking app, because I mean, the more tools tools that are available to us as people who stutter will help, because as we know, one therapy or one aid does not fit all. So the more the more that people who stutter know that there's options available, and hopefully people will be able to choose the one that's best for them.
Thank you. Actually, I I would like to say that if there is any speech and language therapist who also want to use our app, who hear this podcast, and I would love to hear from them, particularly see what they think and how it can help their patients, basically, all the clients. Yeah. Thank you.
Okay. In Newfoundland, Jordi, just to let you know that the speech language pathologist and audiologist has an association called NALASAPA, and this is the Newfoundland Labrador Association of Speech Language Pathologists and Audiologists, and so they have a large membership in our province. So if you want to look them up on Google, NALASAPA, and
LASAPA.
Yeah, connect with them.
Okay, perfect. I will do that. Yeah.
So, Katelyn, do you have any more questions now, or?
Not really, not any more questions. I'm excited that I know about this app now, starting my studies as a speech language pathology student. I think it'll be an interesting thing to kind of consider as I, move through my courses and my placements and work with fluency clients and hopefully get a job after I graduate and maybe use this as a tool.
So Jordi, this is your time. Do you have any questions for us now before we close?
So what is your actually? So what is your relation with the stuttering to both of you?
Okay. Well, Jordi, I am a person who stutters, and I do have a severe stutter, and but I've taken some therapy that helps me to manage my stuttering. But like you, we have our good days and bad days. Some days stuttering is very fluid, and some days I'm good. Some other days I feel like I'm a train wreck. It all depends how I'm feeling. And Katelyn is okay. Do you want to share a little bit about yourself, Katelyn?
Yeah, for sure. So I'm a student right now. I'm studying speech language pathology. So I have been kind of got involved with working on different projects with Greg and with others doing stuttering awareness and such. And that's how I ended up here.
No, it's good. It's great. There is no many speech and language therapists in the world who focus on stuttering only.
Yeah, so true. And also, Jordi, where we are in Newfoundland, so when I took therapy, I took my therapy in Toronto through the Speech and Stuttering Institute, and I retired in 2017 and moved back home to Newfoundland, where I'm from. And when I came home, I started to look for support just as a support for my stuttering, maintain my targets and things like that. But there's very little known about stuttering in Newfoundland. As you were saying, we do have a number of SLPs in Newfoundland, but there's no specialties in Newfoundland. So what we have been doing, we have developed the Newfoundland Labrador Stuttering Association and the collaborative to bring awareness, and so just to bring awareness and more attention about stuttering. We have also identified a lot of gaps in services and supports, and we have developed the NLSA Collaborative have developed 4 surveys, which we're currently distributing through the province. These surveys, one is for SLPs, another one is for people who stutter, another one is for parents and caregivers and teachers. So we know there are gaps, but we need this data to as evidence to support our claim and to ask for funding. So what we've been doing with the Some Stutter Law Collaborative, we're just breaking ground, and just to bring, as Katelyn was saying, bring awareness to the forefront in Newfoundland.
It's a good plan.
Yeah. Oh, definitely. And but so it's we are gaining awareness, and we've come a long way, but we still have a long way to go.
I mean, what is interesting is there is there is many organizations, no, that focus in bringing awareness. How about this? Your link with the NSA? Well, the one in US, which is the main one. The one about the National Stuttering Association from the US.
We use the various links, like the Canadian Stuttering Association, Canadian CSA Stuttering Association. We use the American Stuttering Foundation as links because we use them as support, and we also refer to them for support for people stuttering Newfoundland.
Yeah, but what I mean is that there is a number of them, and what is interesting is that so some of the time the stuttering associations, they are a bit scattered. So I was thinking maybe sometimes will be maybe to have only one which is bigger rather than having small ones. But this is how it works.
Yeah,
Right.
that's how things work. You see, we're all. I mean, Jody, I really appreciate what you're saying. In many ways, we may be working in silos, but we need to come together as one. But that's not going to happen in the near future, though. Mind if I ask you one quick question before we leave? Now, English is not your first language. How do you find the app in your original language? In your first language.
Sorry, how I found the app?
Yeah, in your first language, because English is not your
Yeah,
first language.
but do you mean the name of the app?
I think basically how your own stutter is affected in both languages. If it's different when you speak one language versus the other, how the app helps you in either language.
We have in our team, we have a person who wrote a thesis about this. So I think that the best person to ask will be him. He wrote a thesis about speaking, stuttering in a different language, a general language. In my case, it's almost the same. What is interesting is that when I started speaking English, I didn't stutter in English, but then once you get used to, it's almost the same. But yeah, it's the same, I think. Did it answer the question?
Yeah, you did, Jordi. And one quick last question: is the app easier to use in your first language? You're tracking it.
Well, it's the same. So the app can you work in any language. The tracking thing works in any language. In my case, as I said, there is no difference. But the truth is, some people found more difficulty the new language, more difficult the new language. Some people found more difficult the old language. So there is no clear evidence, I think, on that. I'm talking about not for an app, stuttering itself, people who learn a different language. Everyone who speak any language can use our app, as long as they understand English a bit.
Well, thanks again, Jordi. This has been a very informative conversation.
Some Stutter La, Newfoundland and Labrador's first podcast about stuttering, has so much to talk about. Let's start listening.
This has been an episode of Some Stutter Lu, New Foundation Land, and Labrador's first podcast about stuttering. Some Stutter Lu is hosted and produced by Greek O'Grady, Katelyn Mayo, and Dr. Paul D. Decker, Melanie Crane, Emily Murphy, and Luca Dinu. Some Stutter Lu is available on Anchor, Spotify, Breaker, Google Podcasts, Pocket Casts, and Radio Public. You can also check out the Some Stutter Lu channel on YouTube. To ask a question, send us a comment or suggestion, or just to get in touch, find us online at Some Stutter Podcast or on Instagram or at Some Stutter Lu Pod on Facebook. Thanks for listening.